like I said, it happens, and hopefully some kids can learn from it, but just don't get caught.
To Dunk, I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, never at 11:51 a.m. on a Thursday, is Michele Barra. Michele, what's up?
Well, Thursday is a fantastic day. So, we should podcast once in a while. I am on call for my regular job, so anything can happen. I try to switch off the business line, so nobody should call me. But hey, we'll see.
Never know.
You never know. We'll see. Maybe it was my personal one. Well, we'll see.
Okay, so the idea today is to talk about as many of these guys on the Summer League roster, really just like the roster guys. Like if you want to hear a huge podcast on Hunter Maldonado, this might not be the one. So we're going to kind of go through the roster guys, talk about if we're up or down in their performance, where they're headed. And honestly, this is going to be mostly a positive show. So let's start with probably the most important guy on this Summer League roster in Chet Holmgren, who in 2 games is averaging 20 points, 9.5 boards, 2.5 assists, a steal, 3.5 blocks, shooting 56% from the field, only 16% from 3, 75% from the line. And that's in 2 games. So like when we say averaging, it's the average of 2 games. But that's where he is in Vegas. Thoughts on Chet, up or down?
He's turning it over too much. That is only
3 turnovers.
Yeah.
3
too
turnovers.
Too much.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, let's. I've seen like commentaries here and there say, yeah, he can't really dribble. Who cares? I mean, he's doing so much of what we hoped he could do coming back from this injury. The fact that he has still the same timing on blocks, the finishing at the rim, it was so easy for him to get in pick and roll situations.
Yeah.
I thought that he could be better at the beginning in pick and pop situation that he probably never used in Summer League. But the pick and roll is really good. And you can really see how easy it is to have Chet as a target. We mentioned it, like Giddey will be elated to play with a guy like Chet who can give him so many options in pick and roll reads, but also Shai. And the fact that he can do all this while playing with average point guards and being able still to create space, to be always in the right spot offensively, it's just beautiful. And the defense is just, like that will change a lot. If he can play 25 minutes a night, which is, I think, a low bar, and can play like 65 games, this season will be so much fun for OKC because he really changes everything on the court defensively.
Yeah, the way that Vicini likes to say it is that he changes the geometry of the court on defense, which I think is true and will help guys like Lou Dort. And Trey Mann put something, I think it was on Instagram yesterday, just talking about how if his man gets beat, he's not worried because he's got Chet behind him.
Yeah.
And
it should not be the way, by the way. You should not don't use it like that. But let's try not to be beaten in the first place because that will allow Chet to be even better.
Yeah. Well, what allowed the Thunder in their original iteration to become one of the best defensive teams in the league is that they had Thabo Sefolosha and Serge Ibaka tethered together, working. Yeah, and they would funnel people to Serge.
Yeah.
And they would have really nowhere to go. And when they try to finish, Serge would get them, or they would dribble out or have to make a last-minute pass that did not work out for them. It's that's the idea. Is you got Lou Dort out there now, tethered to Chet, and it's going to be a game changer. And then just somebody that can catch a lob. Who's catching lobs for this team last year? Nobody.
Sometimes J-Dub.
And sometimes J-Dub. But you can just throw it up there and Chet will go get it. And his touch, his ability to finish around the rim is going to be huge. I was talking to somebody in Vegas and they were like, oh, I think Chet could average 18 points per game. I'm like, well, that seems a little rich to me. But if it's 14 a game, like 14 and 8 and 2 assists and 3 blocks. I think that that's in play.
How many shots do you think he will average in terms of number?
I don't know. Maybe 8 to 12, just depending on the night.
Yeah, 8 seems low.
It feels too low. It
Yeah.
really does. But when you think about Shea and Giddey and J-Dub, like those three in particular took a majority of the shots for the team last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're getting better, not worse. You think they're going to want to take a whole lot less shots? I mean, I don't know. It could be 12 to 15 for Chet.
No, 12. I think it's it's a good number. I think
Yeah.
that just below 10 is a bit low, and I think that with 10 shots, you're right. 14 is in play.
Mm-hmm.
Because he will get to the line.
Yeah.
Some. He will probably be okay. He will be more aggressive in terms of offensive rebounds, I think.
Zach says that Dort is going to shoot 20 shots a game. He's going to feel empowered.
Yeah. No, that will change. That I'm sure will change because like Dort needs to average 7 to 8 shots per game. And that is, I think, a very nice number for Lu Dort. The offense needs to be creative enough to give Chet at least 12 shots. And I think those are there. And it will make everyone's life so much easier if they can get to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. Okay, let's move on to, Ousmane Dieng, who kind of had a slow start in Utah, has been unbelievable in Vegas so far. Pulling up his stats, 17.5 points per game, shooting 70% from the field in 2 games, 54% from 3 on 5.5 attempts per game, 7 boards, 4.5 assists, a steal, and only 1.5 turnovers. I'm not sure that we could have asked for a whole lot more from Us in his time in Vegas so far.
Yeah, as you can see, always been a Dieng believer. No, I actually, I was actually losing my hopes for him. It's early. He's super duper young. I mean, is he 20 already? Yeah, probably 20.
Yeah, he's 20.
The fluidity and I mean, the fact that he was assertive with his dribble is what I liked the most, and the fact that he was never afraid to take shots, even difficult ones. He had like a step back three, like something from off the dribble, and then just he was able to beat his man with the dribble open, which is exactly what the allure was. Now, it's one thing to do it in summer league against non-NBA defenders, even if he was paired with Jarvis Walker in a few possessions, and he wasn't bad. By the way, I mean, oh, here we go. Bells from the church in the mountains. You can hear it probably. Yeah.
I don't hear it.
Okay. It messes with my head and whatever, but it's okay. Anyway, poor guy, Jarvis Walker. I mean, the attempt for that dunk was just Chet was
erased. Completely erased.
Yeah. But anyway, Dieng played very well, and the defense was what I mean, not on NBA standards, but the fact that he's able to do that and was really good in doing that, it's a good sign. I think he can function as an off-ball player, but if he can start to put the ball on the floor, play pick and roll with Chet Holmgren, that was like he was able to play pick and roll like a guard. And I mean, again, let's not put our hopes too high for the season, but there is material there. There's material to be developed. Like Dieng needs minutes next year. Does that mean OKC loses a couple of wins here and there? I'm all in for that. They should play him 20, 25 a night as the wing, as a guard, as a 4. Who cares where? He needs minutes. Like it should be a point of emphasis to give him a lot of minutes, especially early on, to see maybe he will fade away, maybe he will not be as good in the league, but I want to see that.
Yeah. Usman Jang is younger than the following players that were just drafted. Younger than Brandon Miller, younger than both Thompson twins. He is younger than Jordan Hawkins, obviously. He's about the same age as Hood Scafino, younger than Jaime Jaquez, Brandon Pajemski, Chris Murray, Omax Prosper, Marcus Sasser, Ben Shepard, Julian Strother. Like he's really young.
And he's barely older than guys like Hazen Wallace, I think. Is he
Yeah.
a full year younger?
Jarris, like just a few months older than Jarris Walker, a few months older than Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still got time. I know that it's only been 1 year and it feels like, oh my gosh, he's got to really figure this out. I don't know, like the self-creation stuff from him is pretty outrageous. And when he's out on the court, he's probably going to be playing against the third best perimeter defender almost every time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's going to be locked down by Marcus Smart or somebody like that. It's going to be a lesser defender on him because especially if he's playing with Shea or Giddey or those guys, they're going to give him somebody else. He's going to have a chance to succeed here. Now, can they put him in that place? Because I love the assertiveness that he played with last night. I mentioned this last night with Alex, is that he crossed half court and he's like, yeah, it's like my ball. Like, give it to me. And he was either initiating offense, like creating off the dribble, or he was hit those step back threes that were just like, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's just like into the shot clock. I mean, he looks in those moments, the player that he looked most like was Paul George. Now, the odds of him being Paul George are like so small. Like we're talking like 9% or something like that he becomes Paul George.
I love them. I was thinking about 13 and a half.
Yeah.
So yeah, right there.
I mean, it's
like
probably not
9%.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if he can be just a productive player at 6'10", that can shoot and like do a little bit here and there as far as like a creator and a ball mover and defender, like you can't find those guys. And you certainly can't bring those guys into Oklahoma City without giving up a ton of assets.
Yeah.
So like we need to be somewhere in between on Jang, where we were last night and where we were after game one. It's somewhere in between. Like he's likely not going to be some superstar, and he's also likely not to be some bust. Like it's probably somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, if he is just a rotation player for you in 3 years, it's a freaking grand slam of a draft for the Thunder to get Chet, J-Dub, and Oos in the same draft.
Yeah.
Odds are he won't make it. Like if you're just looking at the general odds of like what happens in a draft, like yes. But I think you look at him and there's just a lot to like with Oos.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure that the odds are against him being an NBA player.
Well, I just think like a team selecting 3 lottery picks, 2 of them after 10, odds are that one of those won't work out at least.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I have in my mind, like I haven't made up my mind about where should he play in terms of position. I don't think it's relevant to discuss it now, but the more I see him play, the more I see like a very tall 2 guard, maybe a wing, but it doesn't play like a 4 at all on offense. Not that there is a way to play the 4 on offense, but also on defense. I think he's very good at moving his feet, at being at shielding the paint and doing these sort of stuff compared to like just being bumped in the post and like fighting against guys like Walker. He can do that. I think he needs to get stronger to do that. But the fact that he's fluid enough to stay with guards, it's interesting. It's something where it gives him extremely high versatility because at the 2 guard, yes, there is Kazan. There is Lou Dort, but I mean, at the 3 spot there is J-Dub. So it's I don't know. I think that the fact that he can play with Giddy and J-Dub wherever they want him to play,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that will be in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if he puts up like 20 pounds or something and becomes like a legit guy to put alongside Chet, great. But if not, it's still very, very interesting as a player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he definitely fits in as just like the versatile playmaking piece that they just want to have 100 of those guys.
Yeah.
And I think that he, as of now, like just he looks great. And so I think you have to feel it good. So up on Chet, up on Jang. Let's go to Trey Mann, who is out with an avulsion fracture. I think you have to be up on him as well, especially compared to where we left off in the regular season with him, where we left off even after like this last year was just not good for Trey in a lot of ways. And he looks more confident as well. I think the mental component for he and Oos is pretty important, and it seems like they've started to figure it out.
Yeah. I'm not as up on Trey Mann. I think that he looks great in certain settings. I mean, against G League players, he looks like a star.
Mm-hmm.
Against Summer League players, he looks like a star. He can be the guy who runs an offense. When he's tasked with less, when he's not the guy who has the ball at all times and can create freely, he struggles to contribute, which is something that probably applies also to Ousmane Dieng. I mean, we saw him as the guy. The game where it was not the guy was a complementary piece in Utah. He didn't look the same. It's not very easy for a lot of guys to adjust from getting into the flow of the game with the dribble and with a lot of usage compared to getting into the flow of the game like Isaiah Joe does. Hey, give me 3 shots. I can get into the game with 3 minutes left, and I will be ready. So I think that for Ooze and for Trey, the most important thing is being able to get into the flow of the game without having a lot of possessions to do so. And I'm not sure that I've seen that from Trey. The defensive part was atrocious. Can you say that?
I mean, it's to be expected. It's also summer league where the stakes are non-existent. And
so you're telling me they are not trying to win the summer league?
I don't think they really cared that much about winning the summer league. That's actually like another like feather in Chet's cap is like the defense just stands out. Like he just plays hard all the time.
Not just blocks. He's always in the right spot.
Always in the right spot. Just his like basketball brilliance as a defender is just like on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where Trey is like, can I get to my step back here on this side of the court too? Like, oh no, you can't. He's like just stepping back from his, from the person he's trying to defend. But up, I would still not be surprised if Trey is part of the group that is moved on. Just because I don't quite see his fit with the team, and then also don't quite see the playing time that would be available for him.
Yeah.
And I think that he might just need a fresh start somewhere else.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that there are teams that might be okay having a guy, maybe teams that have a good defensive infrastructure that can sustain a guy like Trey. Toronto, for example, they lost a point guard. It's not that Trey Mann can really. This is not my take, by the way. I think I heard it somewhere and I really liked it. I don't remember where. Maybe Alex said that. I don't remember. But anyway, a team like Toronto, who has like a lot of good defenders, they may be a place where Trey Mann can just come off the bench, be an offensive creator, being good enough on defense, just not terribly bad, and be a regular season player. This is a team where I think he can have space, and there are many others where he can try to be that guy. I mean, Bones Island was not okay for Denver. He played in LA and was better. He had opportunities because they need him to be like an offensive creator. So
Mhm.
I think that if there is no space for him in OKC, which is likely, I think, then it would be good for him to be somewhere else, unless he wants to be like the end of the bench guy, maybe suit up every other night and just be part of the team.
Yeah. Let's talk about Cason Wallace. Are you up or down on Cason Wallace's performance so far? He's played 3 games. He's averaging 10 points on 11 shots. The efficiency that was there in game 1 kind of disappeared in the next 2 games. 32% from the field, 33% from 3, 60% from the line on hardly any attempts. 3 boards, 3 assists, 2.7 turnovers. Like the stats are not super favorable to Cason, certainly.
Yeah, I don't care. I fully expected that after that 6 out of 10. I think I predicted 1 out of 8 the next game from 3.
Yeah.
It was close enough. I don't think that this is his role for the team. I don't think that he should be a primary creator as of today. He may be one day, like Marcus Smart, which was, by the way, a better playmaker in college. I think that he should be primarily a guy that plays off others. So it's something that I think he struggled in creating good shots for himself. It was much better when Trey Mann was out there creating for him, and he was just like a spot up, relocating, moving around. I don't think that the passing was bad. It was not super duper creative, but he made some good looks for Chet. He makes some good reads in pick and roll situation. It's just that I don't think that he has it in him today to be a number 1 guy in terms of getting the ball. But it's not what I think he should be or will be in his early career with OKC. He can develop into that. So the numbers are okay for me. I like that he's trying to get to his shot, that he's not afraid to take threes, and the fact that defensively is competent. He was really good guarding in the perimeter. He was sliding. He was shielding the paint again, not allowing his men to just beat him straight up and allowing Chet to be the out guy. So I think that on that end, I want to see him tested with better players because, I mean, guarding, what's the name of the guy who made a lot of points from Indiana? I don't remember. Anyway, it was a 2nd round pick for the Pacers. But anyway, it's not really important. It's just
Isaiah Wong.
Yeah, exactly, Wong. He was okay against Hardy. So
Yeah.
it's I want to see him against like a real NBA guy. And see what he's about. I think that is the reason why they drafted Cason. I think that he has upside to be more than just a guy that plays off other guys. But it's not something that I will judge today.
Yeah. I feel the same. I think that he was brought here to help accentuate what the team does.
Mhm.
And I think that he's shown that he has the capacity to do that. Obviously, you don't feel great about how he shot the ball, but I think he's going to get cleaner looks in the regular season. His role will probably vary, and unless he shows himself to be like a J-Dub type of contributor at some point in the season, which is just a lot. That's a lot to ask. I think that I think saying stuff like that kind of undersells how rare it is for somebody like J-Dub to emerge, and it's like a little bit unfair to Cason to expect him to be that in year 1, especially with a team that now has leveled up from like pure like development only to now like, hey, we've got a lot of guys that we have developed. And you were brought here because we can see the defensive potential, the ability to move the ball, the ability to play in transition. And despite his size, which he's not a really big guy, he can play multiple positions because of his strength and just like defensive knowledge.
Yeah.
And so those are the reasons why he was brought in. He wasn't brought in to be like the point guard of this team. He'll come off the bench and he'll fill in gaps. And maybe someday he's a starter. Maybe he is just a bench guy. Who knows? We don't know yet. And to pretend like we do is disingenuous. but he seems to have all the qualities. Like he's checked the boxes of the qualities that you would want for him. So
Sure. And again, you're right. J-Dub is extremely rare. Like a rookie that can be on a team. He's not the primary guy. It's not Banchero who has a lot of offensive possessions like available for him, and he's still able to contribute. J-Dub was.
Yeah.
It's more normal to have seasons like Usman Jang, who started to show progress before the injury. And this is more natural, like averaging 5, 6, 7, 8 points for a guy that is taken like in the mid lottery. This is the likely outcome, like to be able to contribute right away, to be incredible from the beginning. It's not normal. I mean, it may be something that happens for guys that are older, like Keegan Murray is not as young as these guys, and he was able to fit into a role that was perfect for him, and he was able to excel in that role. I mean, Jabari Smith was put in a situation that was very hard for him, like not having a guy that was able to pass him open almost hardly ever, being like in a team that was without a concept, without a structure, and he looked bad. Now, like after a year, after like reestablish some of his strength and stuff like that, I think he will have a great season this year. So it's completely natural to see Kaysen maybe struggling a bit, maybe fitting in after the All-Star break and starting to contribute there, and maybe even like averaging 32% from three. Who cares? It's not important that he contributes right away as like one of the top 10 guy on this team. It's not what he needs. He needs him in 2-3 years to be a guy that is a solid contributor, either in the starting spot or off the bench.
Yeah. And it's tough when you're just like not handed minutes, or if you get hurt or something, because I think we have a better opinion on guys like Jaden Ivey and Shaden Sharp and Jeremy Sohan, just because they had all the minutes at the end of the season and got to rack up stats. Where Jang, even if he was healthy, probably isn't doing that because he was asked to basically be a defender and spot up shooter.
Yeah.
That was it. And like, you even look at a guy like Dyson Daniels, who I think is going to be an awesome player, by the way.
Yeah, that's another good example.
But
struggled.
Didn't get the run, didn't get like all the possessions like Shaden Sharp did, where I think people have a higher opinion of Shaden Sharp. But I'm not so sure that Dyson Daniels isn't going to be the better player of those two, just because I think Dyson just knows how to play. Like Shaden lacks some self-awareness on both ends at times. He's crazy talented.
Yeah.
But I saw him even in a summer league game just absolutely shoot the Blazers out of a game that they should have won. Defensively, he's a mess. But I think people have a higher opinion of him just because he racked up a bunch of stats. And for like Ben Mathurin. Like Ben Mathurin had a chance to do it. Jaden Ivey at the end of last season had a chance to do it. And, you know, guys that aren't in the greatest position for themselves as far as like minutes, shots, usage rate, all that, probably don't look as good, like Jang and Dyson Daniels and Mark Williams and even AJ Griffin and guys like that. But somebody is going to get better and going to emerge out of that group and is going to be better than that Ivy, Mathurin, Sharp group. You know, like that's going to happen.
Yeah. Can we talk for 58 seconds about how beefy J-Dub is?
Yeah, he looks huge.
He is ginormous, and he looked fantastic in that.
Oh, so crazy.
I mean, he was completely out of place. Like, it's just no. I should not be here.
Yeah. No, he should not be there. Expectations are sky high for him to start the year, and they probably should be. I mean, I think he's ready to take another step. Let's see, who else should we talk about? Keontae Johnson for sure.
He looks
got a two-way deal. He looks pretty good.
He looks pretty good. He's sturdy. He's like very strong. I mean, there was a possession where he was like a defender of the Pacers just ran into him and he just didn't move. He was like doing this layup, and he got fouled and he didn't move from his trajectory. He is really strong. I really like the profile. He's a tough shot maker. I think he has capabilities to be an okay defender. The size is very good. And yeah, this was a great flyer to take. I mean, he's going to be great in the G League. He will score and take a lot of shots, and he will get a chance. I'm not sure how much upside he has. I didn't follow his career. I know about the injury. I know about the year off. I know about all that stuff.
Sure,
But
sure.
I don't have in my head a clear picture of his development from year one in Florida to his last year in college. So I don't know what else can be there. But I mean, he took like a very nice step back pull up from 2 point range. It was really pure. The three ball looks good. I don't know the percentage from the top of my head, but he looks like
Bad.
bad. Yeah, but he didn't take.
14%. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't take a ton of them. Like, is it?
It's only like 2 a game. So,
Yeah.
but it does look good. Like almost everything Keontae does looks good, honestly, as a like 6'5" wing who's got like good, like he's 6'5", but he's definitely a wing.
Yeah.
And like if everything works out for him, like he could be like a little Royce O'Neal-y, you know, like if
He's
everything-
better offensive talent than that.
I don't know. Royce is good. Like Royce is a straight up good NBA player.
Yeah.
He's got maybe Keontae's got a little bit more off the bounce, like more on the drive. But
Yeah.
Royce is like probably is a better passer. Is like he's got a lot to his game. But that's like the kind of like role player like in that range. If like everything just like click. He's like got a good deal with the Thunder. He's going to stay, in the NBA. He's going to be like that type of role player that is probably a bench guy. That still is like a very unlikely path for the 50th pick overall, but I do like him. He is a lot older. I mean, he's 23. He's probably one of the 5 oldest guys in the draft, and is like we talked about guys that are older than Oos. Like he's 3 years older than Oos.
Yeah. I mean, guys like that. He will go 1 year in GD. He may get his contract next summer with OKC, like a regular one. He's 24. He'll be 24, and I mean, depending on how things are going, you may have Isaiah Joe asking for a fat raise. You may have Aaron Wiggins asking for a fat raise. You may have like a couple of guys looking elsewhere, and boom, you have a guy that you can probably slide in your rotations as the 12th, 13th man. Just being solid guy, opportunistic on offense, may create some. If he sticks defensively in the league, he can be like a role player. And if you draft a role player at 50, that's huge value. If he accounts to nothing more than a G League star, like who cares? Just give those guys a chance, like a real chance. Like show everyone in college and in G League that if you get into the program, you'll have a real chance to make it. You'll have minutes, you have real opportunities. And like the reason why Miami always gets these players, it's because they know that if you get there, you'll be maximized. And this is something that in OKC is starting to be a reality. Like everyone that gets into the system gets out better. It doesn't apply to everyone. The same goes for Miami. Not every player that comes into the Miami system actually works. But there are plenty. And so if you starts to be like a development factory, then you'll have more of these opportunities. Guys will just try not to be drafted by anybody but you in the second round. The first round is different, but in the second round, you'll have chances to get better players outside of the draft. And so I really think that OKC is doing a great job with guys like that, with Aaron Wiggins, with like all these guys that looks like real strong NBA players after a couple of seasons to the system.
Yeah, I mean, like Omar Rui last year, you know, like they signed him to the deal, they cut him, but like Detroit was like, oh yeah, we like that guy. Like immediately picked him up. You know,
Yeah.
like there's value there. And with like Lindy too. I mean, Lindy Waters was not supposed to be an NBA guy, and the
Yeah.
Thunder like suddenly made him into an NBA guy. I think I'm up on almost everybody so far. I'm kind of middling on Kaysen, but that's just because the shot didn't fall. But mostly up on him too. Somebody that I'm down on, and this is probably unfair because he's only played one game and he's been hurt, is Jeremiah Robinson Earl. And I'm beginning to question the path for JRE to play on this team, to have an impact. A lot of it is just because I think Jay Will, who I'm up on too, just like Jay Will just looks competent. He hadn't shot the ball well, but
Yeah, okay.
I don't really question like what Jay Will is going to be in the league. Where with Jeremiah, there's some questions as to like defensively, he just didn't look great. Offensively, he missed.
He looked bad.
Yeah, he was 3 of 9 from the field in that game. It's I mean, I think it's okay to question where he's at from here just because of the roster crunch issues that we'll talk about for the next like 9 weeks. Like it's kind of inevitable that somebody is going to fall off. Somebody has to not be on this roster. Like that's just flat reality. And I think that he's definitely one that is on the fence is where I would put him right now.
Yeah, he's in the bubble. He's in the maybe not as gone as Rudy Gay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that Rudy Gay is not going to play for OKC, but who knows? I mean,
I would be shocked.
Yeah, me too. I still question if there is another trade in. I mean, somewhere in the near future where you package everyone and just grab like a 30 million kind of guy, not for pushing the button, just for getting another fat check in terms of picks. So I don't want to say I'm disappointed because this is I don't know. I haven't had good feelings about JRE future. I think that with Jay Will, that gives you a lot more in terms of passing. With like a lot of guys that needs to play at the 4. I don't see a space for him there. And so I think that he's a great guy. He looks like a great guy. Like I don't remember who said that he gives the best speeches before games in the locker room. I can see that, and I can see him maybe in the future going back to OKC as a coach. But as a player today, I just don't see that. I just don't see why you would waste his time and a roster spot for a guy that clearly needs a different scenario for him to succeed. And yeah, that is how I feel. I don't feel that his NBA career is over. I just think that he needs a different kind of structure to really function.
Yeah, I think it just needs the structure and just the opportunity.
Yeah,
because I just think, and this is going to happen with this Thunder roster, is that they're gonna have to let go of players that are good.
That they are not sure yet if they can succeed in the league, and they may very well be good somewhere else. Yeah.
Yes, they're going to move on, and they're going to be good somewhere else. If you put Jeremiah in Miami or in Boston,
in Phoenix, I mean they need
Phoenix.
They need guys.
Yeah,
like straight up guys.
You could go there and play well, and so it's inevitably going to happen. I mean, TJ McConnell was a process Sixer and has gone on to have like a really nice career as a bench guard.
Yeah.
Like those stories will happen.
Yeah.
They're inevitably going to happen. I mean, the Thunder have 3 picks in the first round next year.
Yeah. Jeremy Grant. Like he was let go by the process Sixers and he signed a max or very close to that. And was a very good player. Aaron Gordon looked like a lost cause in Orlando, and he was probably the 3rd most important player in Denver, the 3rd one. I mean, those things will happen. It's not because surely there is a little bit of a misevaluation of talent, but there is also like different priorities, and
Mhm.
sometimes you just need to let go. I don't expect Jerry to be Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon was good, just
Yeah.
misused in Orlando.
Mhm.
But there are stories like this one where Dinwiddie, who looked like nobody, and then started to have a role, be
Yeah.
better, and now he's a good NBA player.
Mhm.
So I mean, it can happen. It can also happen with Trey Man. I mean, he can have a Jordan Clarkson kind of career where he
Yeah.
was just a
Yeah. Yeah.
miscast in LA
For sure.
and goes to Utah, to Cleveland, and then to Utah, and is finally like a good rotation player. That can happen.
Mhm.
And it can also happen that you pick the wrong guy. You can say, okay, I need Cason Wallace to get minutes, and in 3 years, Cason Wallace is out of the league, whereas Trey Man is running second units and scoring 25 a night. I don't think that is likely today, but sometimes you are forced to do an evaluation today that is going to be wrong.
Yeah.
That is going to happen.
It's inevitably going to happen. There's
Yeah.
somebody that we think favorably now that is not going to be good. And there's going to be guys that like with Oos during the season and even after the season, we didn't feel great about him. I think
Yeah.
405 fan tweeted at me like, "Do you prefer Oos or Jarris Walker?" With and 3 weeks ago, we would have been like, "Are you insane?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? Like, you need to check yourself into a mental institution if you're asking yourself that question." And you watched him last night, and you're like, "Actually, it's kind of a fair question just because of the offensive upside with Oos." There, I don't know. Like if Oos hits 100% of his upside, he's a way better player than what Jarris is. If Jarris hits 100% of his upside, but I kind of believe that Jarris will be a better NBA player.
Yeah, it's fair. It's like Poku. I mean, what is the chances that Poku reaches his upside? When he was drafted, it was wow. If he reached that, there are very few players that can do what he does. But there is a very tiny chance that happens.
Yeah,
and that chance looks tiny even today.
Yeah,
Probably tinier.
It's going to be hard. It's just going to be tough for the guys that are on the fringes. It's going to be a battle. And the Thunder are going to allow the battle to happen, and they're going to allow everybody to get minutes, everybody to figure out where they are at in this mix. There's guys that are certainly going to have a role on the team that is completely defined, but then there's going to be a battle for minutes. I mean, I don't think that last year at the beginning of the year, people were like, "Oh yeah, Aaron Wiggins is like going to be one of the guys that makes it through," or Isaiah Joe is going to be one of the guys that makes it through. You know, last year we had Trey Man cemented as like the easy sixth man. And like, do you think
who's the moron who predicted that he was going to average 16 points per game?
Might have been you, my brother.
Might have been me. Yeah, that was me. That was me. My
like
bold prediction.
Start in front of Dort. It's like those are our opinions. Like with young players, things can change fast.
Yeah,
and things can look one way one day, and then the next week they completely change. So like we just have to be aware of that heading into this next season. I mean, outside of like Giddey, Shea, Dort, Chet, J-Dub, you know, outside of those guys, you can have things can change fast for everybody below them.
Yeah.
Or as like the order, like you can put them in an order right now, and that order is going to it's going to look like a Mad Lib by the end of next season because you just can't predict it. And the good thing about Mark Daigneault and his system is like it's going to get the best out of all these guys.
Yeah,
and he's going to put them in the best position possible. I firmly believe that, and it's going to be up to them. The one thing that Mark always says is that he puts every player in the driver's seat of their own development, and it's their job.
This is a great,
it's their job to get themselves there.
Yeah,
and so I am so intrigued to see, you know, where all these guys end up going. But yeah,
before we go, how many times do you think at the Thunder, and then at a certain point you realize, hey, Mitchell is on the roster? Because sometimes, like when I think about who should be in the rotation, saying, well, there's this, there's this. Oh, there is Vasilij Mitchell there. I mean, I know it doesn't it's not the topic of today, and I'm probably way too high, like I was on Trey Man, on Micic. But boy, oh boy, that
He's on
guy
the team. He's on the
is
team.
on the team.
He's not officially signed yet. Like I think that it should happen sometime soon.
Yeah,
But yeah, I saw him like in person.
yeah,
Walked right by him.
Yeah.
So he's a person. He's a human person.
he's a person.
in the United
Yeah.
States on
Yeah.
the Thunder
He's
now.
a EuroLeague MVP. Vasilij Micic.
It's very exciting. All right. Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We'll have another one for you tomorrow. Just 3 podcasts. Bang, bang, bang for you. Regular FryPod time tomorrow. Really looking forward to it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk to you guys again on Friday.